I'm Shane Ramey. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast. It's good to be with you today. Check us out at thatsoberguy.com. Title of today's episode, Brad Pitt is drinking again, and apparently we give a shit. Celebrity, sobriety, social media scams, and why everyone needs to get off of the internet to some extent. I know we're never going to get rid of it completely, but is it benefiting us in different ways? I mean, sure, some ways. Yeah, I think you could argue that. Is it hurting us as a culture, society, as a people, families, in many ways, teenagers? Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's start with this. Brad Pitt drinking again. Maybe you've seen it, however you say it, in the last couple of days. It's been on all over social media, and apparently it's breaking news. Brad Pitt, one of the most famous, wealthy people, actors on probably planet Earth, has decided that, hey, he'd like to have a glass of wine again. And apparently we've all been summoned to discuss it. So here we go. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Let me give you a little bit of the backstory here, just in case you aren't familiar. I'll keep it short and sweet. But Brad Pitt says he was sober for around 7 years. And he says now that he is drinking in more of a restrained way. So he admits he also at times got overconfident a couple of times, and which led to him having the realization that, like, okay, I'm back drinking some wine. I can't handle large quantities of alcohol, which is the case for a lot of different people. So first of all, let's just appreciate how funny this is in so many ways. And you're probably going, wait, what? It's funny? He's drinking again. I get it. But because the second Brad Pitt or any highly well-known celebrity says at that point, hey, Brad Pitt says he's having a drink again, the entire internet just absolutely starts acting like they're Brad Pitt's mother and they'd love him and they're so worried about him. And everybody becomes suddenly concerned about Brad Pitt. People who haven't called their own fathers in years are deeply worried about Brad Pitt. And people who are on their third or fourth glass of Chardonnay on a Tuesday night are like, this is really concerning from Brad Pitt. He's drinking again. and I love the language here as well. They make it sound like a Brad Pitt, relapse and is the end of the world. And he immediately woke up in a ditch wearing like a pirate costuming, completely destroying his career and his whole life. It's a huge deal for everybody. And more or less, I think it's a reason for people to talk about stuff. And hey, I'm talking about it now. So, I mean, I get it. I do. But when you really look at it, here's what the guy basically said. He said, yeah, I had a couple drinks. I realized I'm not as good at moderation as I thought I was, which, by the way, is probably the most honest thing anyone in Hollywood has said in the last, 15, 20 years. But here's the real question is I find it fascinating. It's so interesting to me and so baffling at the same time is how bad people want this story that Brad Pitt decided to have some wine again to end one way or the other. Half of the internet wants Brad Pitt to to prove that moderation's possible. Which there's many people who do drink moderately. They're moderate drinkers. They don't have an issue with alcohol. So I think there's already some proof there in that arena. But the other half wants him to fail miserably and face down in a swimming pool, destroying everything, his career, his family, losing everything by, Labor Day, let's say, in a month, less than a month. Nobody wants a boring outcome. In other words, they want headlines. They want stories. They want, the gossip. They want to say, I told you so. They want to be right. Nobody wants to hear, yeah, I drank a little and I really didn't like it and I moved on with my life. Now, I don't even know, and because that's not a headline, by the way, I drank a little, really didn't like it, moved on with my life. There's nothing exciting about that. It's probably the truth. It could be the truth. I don't know. But what's really funny about that is that I forgot what I was going to say. So it's not that funny. And that happens. That's been happening a lot lately, actually. I don't know if it's the mid 40 fog or what. I like to think I'm pretty sharp and, staying on point. But in any case, celebrity culture. Okay, celebrity culture. Brad Pitt is sitting in his kitchen probably right now eating some breakfast, not really caring about, what people are saying or thinking or having a point to, or what they want to be right. They want him to lose everything. They want him to prove that moderation is possible. And he's probably unaware because he doesn't probably read all the stupid comments that come out on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all the shit that a guy named Kevin, has already diagnosed him from Facebook. And Kevin's on his Facebook post right now. And he's going, "Mark my words, this never ends well." Kevin's Facebook profile is him wearing some Oakleys, standing by the side of his pickup truck, maybe from 2014. Who knows? I like Kevin. He's awesome. But I'm just trying to paint a picture here. It never ends well. And I'm not wishing that on anyone. I don't think that that's the case personally. But I do think that this culture, this headline culture, they want to see people fail. People want to see people fail because it validates their own bullshit. And it doesn't make them feel as bad about themselves if other people fail. And I think that there's some interesting reasons why the internet has a nervous breakdown here. I mean, and I think that begs the question of who actually has the problem here. Is it a moderate drinker? Is it Brad Pitt? Or is it the people on the internet who are stuck in this digital reality that is not real? I think that's a fair question. Now, I'm reading these, this article. I read the article, a little pre-production for this show, and kind of got the gist of the story here. And my thoughts weren't necessarily on Brad Pitt. I mean, I don't know him. I don't care what he does. I mean, I wish him the best, as I do everyone. Stay positive, be healthy, do you. But the first thing I thought of, this whole time is like, what would I do in that situation? What if I had a drink again? This is a common thought that not everyone wants to talk about or admit to, at least. What if I drank again? How long would I last? Would I, do I think I could control it? I've had that thought before. Hey, it's been almost 13 years and I'm a different man now than I was back in my late 20s and early 30s. And I guess some would say I have my shit together. I don't know if that's always true. It doesn't feel like it sometimes. I'm still a jackass. I still say stupid things sometimes. Do stupid things sometimes. But I do think, man, would I be able to have a beer and be okay? Or would I destroy everything and end up face down in a gutter? Or would I have a drink and go, this is great, I can do this? I haven't had alcohol in over 12 years. And I've lived on the other side of what is today, drinking every day. And I can tell you one thing, I don't miss it. And I know for a fact I'm not missing out on anything. Because I occasionally do have that thought. What if? What would happen if I went back? Not because I want to, because I'm human, because I have feelings, because I have questions. And there's a stigma around this topic sometimes where it's not talked about a lot because you don't want to talk about it. You want to deny the fact that those feelings are real. And they're okay. They're normal. What's not okay is maybe acting on them and maybe taking it to that next step. And that's where we got to be careful. I get that. But we've been taught that relapse equals disaster. I mean, I know I have talked about it many times on this show and over the years. And I think as you grow and you start to see things in a different perspective and you learn a little bit about self, you learn a little bit about the addiction industry itself, the recovery industry as, you know, as the model that it is, I guess. Relapse equals disaster. Yes, it's absolutely a thing. I've heard many stories of dudes who have 5, 10, 20 plus years who went back and it was a disaster. So yeah, that is true. But is it always true? Does that mean Brad Pitt going back to having a couple glasses of wine and realizing he can't really drink in large quantities again, is that a disaster or is that growth? Is that just saying, okay, yeah, I guess I was wrong in that. I thought about it. You know, he acted on it versus, like for me, I don't have any plans on acting on that, on going back to it. I know what that is. I don't need that in my life. It doesn't mean, however, that there aren't days that are stressful and I get burnt out or tired or irritated and I sit back in my chair and I go, you know what? I wish I could just get fucking hammered right now. Because I do have those moments. I do have those days. And you know what? I think it's more healthy for me to let that out and say it than to try to hold it in and bottle it up and act like I'm good and got it all together and like I'm fucking God's gift because I haven't drank alcohol. And I still find other ways to escape. I talked about that on last week's podcast. Netflix, food, fantasy football. I mean, there's a list of things that we could say, even fitness, like going hard at the gym. That's an escape for me. And it's a healthy escape, most of the time. But I still want to let go. I think that's human nature. It's a natural feeling and it's okay to express that. It's okay to express the fact of saying, yeah, there are days I wish I could because it's not the act of drinking. It's not the act of wanting to, like I said, just go get fucking hammered. And it's not that. It's not, I don't miss the party. I don't miss the people. I don't miss any of that. Alls I miss is the ability to not feel and just want to escape. That's it. That is it. I don't want to feel that sometimes. And that is, unfortunately, alcohol is a great tool to do that. But if you can't moderate it and control it, which a lot of people can't, it could be devastating. So we have to be careful there. So if somebody does, let me propose this question too, and maybe think about this. You're driving, you're walking, you're sitting in your office listening, maybe pause for a second. Like, if somebody does drink again, does that mean everything that they learned and went through and did, was it all fake? Was it all for nothing? Like, does 5 years of sobriety just disappear? As a matter of fact, I have a buddy, and I won't obviously say his name, but great friend of mine, known him for years. He had about 5 years alcohol free, and he hit me up just a couple months ago. And he said, hey, I had a couple beers again. And I said, really? All right. I was kind of surprised. But he's a grown man. Like, he can do what he wants and make his own decisions. And I said, well, how'd that work out? And, he had a couple of interesting stories to tell about a night, the first night where he had a couple drinks and he probably had one or two too many. But he said, I'm going to see how it goes. And I said, would you do me a favor? I said, please keep me posted. I'm not like, I'm genuinely curious. Like, you just had 5 years away from it. Like, I'm genuinely curious. What is that? like how is that? How are you going to feel? Let me know how it goes, basically, is what I'm getting at. And he said, okay, I will. So about a week went by and I got a text from him, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't want to grab my phone and bring the text up right now. But basically he said, I've had a couple more nights with a couple beers here and there. It was an okay time, but I'm realizing that it's just a lot easier to not drink and to not have to deal with it. And I said, that makes complete sense, because it starts to get complicated because it's such a good tool to use as an escape mechanism, as a social lubricant, as a way to not feel, as a way to release. And so it can get complicated, and it's so easily attainable that you can find yourself really fast. Just like Brad Pitt mentioned. Yeah, I had a couple glasses of wine. I thought I was cool. And then all of a sudden I realized I can't really drink in large quantities, but probably because he got fucking smashed one night and was like, whoa, I thought I could do this. I don't know if that's the best decision. I don't know. I'm taking, that's a wild guess. Like I said, that's not fact anything. I'm just kind of taking a guess at it. But does the person suddenly become an alcoholic again if they go back? Were they not before? I mean, that's up to them to decide. That's kind of contrary to the idea. If you believe that you're always an alcoholic, which a lot of people do believe that. And I don't care what anyone believes. Do what works for you. I've always said that on this show. Like, I don't care. I know there's a lot of people that want to say, you got to do it this way, and if you don't, you're wrong. I don't buy that. I just don't. Everybody's different. I think there's a lot of good tools. There's a lot of good people. There's a lot of good thoughts and opinions. And we have to be able to keep dialogue open and be able to conversate about. It's kind of like politics right now. It's like really interesting. You remember back in the 80s, and I was just a kid in the 80s, but I do remember even in the 90s, you didn't have to like the president. You didn't have to go along with certain policies or campaigns or have the same beliefs, but you could respectfully disagree. It wasn't tearing families apart. It wasn't getting people canceled. You could respectfully have a somewhat educated conversation, use your critical thinking skills, your debate skills, your passion, your heart, your ideas, your creative thinking. And that was the art of the conversation. That was the art of the debate. It was the art of free speech and being able to enjoy company and disagree respectfully and still maybe learn something or two from the other person. That's a healthy conversation. Doesn't mean we agree, but it's a healthy convo. Agree to disagree, whatever you want to call it. Whereas now, there's and this is by design, because division sells, division makes money. It just does. And whether it's on social media, in different platforms, different spaces, politics, even recovery. Like, the fact that if you don't do it one way, and not everybody's like this, so I'm just hear me out. Like, there are a lot of people though, if it's not their way, it's the highway. And there's no debating it, and you're completely wrong and stupid or evil or dumb or just, and it destroys relationships, friendships, families. I mean, I've seen politics rip families apart. And so if we kind of take that same concept, that's one thing I do like about the majority of like the sober community is I feel like in most places you can still have those conversations. Like, you can respectfully, disagree on a lot of things, but just like all things, there's always a small percentage where it's not that way. And so I think like today's topic, like thinking about going back to drinking, asking if, you would be still an alcoholic, would you destroy your life, or would you be able to moderate? Like, those types of questions can sometimes rub people the wrong way. And that's not the intent. The intent is to use our brains that God gave us and actually ponder those questions and think about them and then talk about them and communicate about them, not stuff them down and act like they don't exist. I think that's worse personally. But hey, what do I know? So humans are messy. Let's kind of sum that part up with that. Humans are messy. Humans make mistakes. Humans say dumb things. We do dumb things. And, here's my point to this, I guess. And I'm going to bring it back to the Brad Pitt thing here real quick. I don't know what Brad Pitt's relationship with alcohol is today. And neither do you, right? And to be honest, I don't really care, but it's something to talk about. We're talking about it, right? We don't know his future. We don't know whether he'll drink for another 20 years. We don't know whether he'll decide on Tuesday that he hates it again and he's going to hang it up and he's going to get back on the wagon. We don't know. We don't know. That's the end of story. And we should stop acting like we know. Like, I don't know. You don't know. Who knows? Who cares? Other than, caring for a person. I mean, I get that. Have empathy, all that stuff. Like I said before, want people to do good, be positive, be healthy, live a great life, help others, all that stuff. But I'll tell you one thing. You want to know who knows, who has all the answers? Social media, X. By the end of the afternoon, a guy with 43 followers named, I don't know, it's probably like at Facts Over Feeling 69 has diagnosed Brad Pitt. He has all the answers. He knows everything. And, as I think about this, and it's like, why do we care so much about celebrities? Like, what is it? Even before social media was big, I can remember going over to my wife's parents' house, who I love very dearly, by the way. And I've had lots of great times at their house and family Sunday dinners and just some amazing times together over the years, especially as I look back. And maybe I didn't always see those like that at the time because I was younger and stupid and I just didn't really get it, kind of, different reasons, I guess. But as I look back now, it was just so precious, those times when the kids were little, when cousins and brothers and sisters and parents were younger. And in any case, we used to go over there and we would watch the Academy Awards. My wife's mom would do a big thing up and they would have, food and they would want to watch the dresses and read the magazines. And I could never understand, even at that time, and I get it now. It's more about gathering and being family and hanging out. So I totally, it's different to me than it was then. But I used to get irritated then because I'd be like, man, who cares about these celebrities? I don't care. Like, why are we so, whatever with them? And the culture pushed us in that direction. The culture pushed us in that direction to worship celebrities. I mean, we're talking about a celebrity today. I'm not immune to it. It's still a thing. But I think to get an understanding of it, and when you really start to dive into it, it's actually pretty interesting how much culture pushed us as a society to worship these people and emulate them and try to imitate them and try to do the things that they do and try to wear the things that they wear. And it's like, I love, Brad Pitt's great. He's a great actor. He was great in Fight Club. He was great in Moneyball. I'm a huge Oakland A's fan. Unfortunately, not in Oakland anymore, but I'll still always refer to them as the Oakland A's. But Moneyball was great about the A's system and Billy Beane, and he did a great job in that. He was great in the movie Snatch. I don't know if any of you ever saw that, a little bit older, but very talented guy, very talented performer. The work he does is great, okay, as an artist. Not going to argue that. He has money. He has fame. He has big homes and famous friends. And, most people would kill for that. They envy it. And let me tell you something else. He's still a human being who wipes his asshole just like I do, just like you do. And I do wonder if sometimes maybe when I just said that, I thought, man, is he a folder or a crumpler? I'm going to go crumpler. I could be wrong. Who knows? But like anybody, wipes his ass. He's just trying to figure out his life. He's just trying to figure it out. He tried to figure out having a few glass of wines worked. Now everybody's lost their minds over it, judging and wanting him to succeed or wanting him to fail, either side, the division again. That division brings clicks. Did he relapse? I don't know. Who cares? What does relapse even actually mean? Like, why are we so fascinated by it? The ups and the downs, the backs and the forth, back and forth, whatever you call it. Why do we need celebrities to be examples of either perfection or failure? Why? And why are we spending, hours watching other people's lives while complaining we don't have enough time for our own lives? And it's a doom loop. It's a cycle. And I'll tell you why. Social media, Facebook, like right now, there's someone named Todd. Hey, Todd. And Todd's arguing right now with Terry. They're on Facebook. And Terry and Todd, they were friends from church, acquaintances, you could say. They also went to the same high school, a few different years apart there. Didn't graduate the same year, but they knew each other. They were acquaintances. They found each other on Facebook, became friends, digital friendships. They're on there. They like each other. They have some mutual friends. One of them made a comment the other one didn't like. And now they're on Facebook probably right now as I'm talking about this, as you're listening to this. And they're arguing about whether or not Costco rotisserie chickens are actually government surveillance drones and whether they put chemicals in Bud Light to make you vote Democrat and immigration and they should do this and they should do that and this president and that president. And it's exhausting and it's really gross and a waste of time. First of all, who's still on Facebook? That's the first question. Unless it's Marketplace, you definitely have a pass there. I do enjoy some Facebook Marketplace. I do buy the occasional quality item and sell the occasional quality item on Facebook Marketplace. Nothing wrong with that. But Facebook is basically a retirement home with Wi-Fi and everybody's pissed off all the time. Just go on there and look at the comments and you will see it's a bunch of older folks, bunch of boomers arguing about politics with people that they used to go to high school with, or potentially even family members, which is sad. Nobody is changing anybody's mind because nobody cares. They just want to hear themselves talk and get their point across in the digital space that's not real, by the way. It's fake. Greg is not suddenly going to go, you know what, Linda? We've been friends a long time. I really appreciate you. And you've made some excellent points. I think I'm going to rethink my entire political ideology. Does it really matter? Does it really matter? Ask yourself that next time something seems like a big deal to you. Just stand there, just take a breath and go, is this really that big of a deal? And 9 times out of 10, it's probably not. And Greg doesn't care. Greg's drinking a Coors Light in his garage and he's typing back, do your research with 2 fingers. And he's pissed and he ruined his whole day because of it. And then he tells people about it. I was on Facebook and you know what she commented? It's so fucking bizarre, I gotta say. It really is. But we got the entire world at our fingertips. And we're using it to watch Brad Pitt drink and hear Greg from high school argue with Linda about political parties and policies. Maybe we should just get off of Facebook. That might be a good idea. Because social media used to be social, right? Social media, it was about having fun. It was about connecting. It was about having a place to connect with other humans. Now it's basically advertising. Everything's an ad. It's outrage. Everyone's pissed off. And everyone's trying to sell you something. Everyone's trying to sell you something. We've created an entire economy around watching famous people live. And I put famous in quote. What is fame? What is it? What is famous? Why do we care? You have a cool job. Like, I'll take a baseball player. The first guy that comes to mind, Nolan Ryan. Okay, I know I'm old for that. Old school pitcher, one of the greatest of all time. Nolan Ryan is pretty famous, right? Not the most famous. Some of you might have never heard of him, but he's a pretty famous guy if you know baseball. Okay. He had a great job, a great career, amazing work ethic, sometimes superhuman. And you would say he's pretty famous. Is it okay to think, man, that guy's cool. He has a really cool job. Man, he threw like 102 miles an hour. Man, if I ever like ran into him in an airport and happened to be sitting next to him, I'm sure I'd say hi to him, maybe give him a handshake. But like this over-eager and over, I don't even know what the word is, to like worship athletes and celebrities. And it's just so weird. It's so weird. And we've created an entire economy around that, an entire platforms around that. And then social media took it further. You don't even need to be famous anymore. It used to be like, your Brad Pitts, your different celebrities, athletes, whatever, musicians. And social media took it to a whole new level. You don't even have to do anything fucking half talented anymore, and you can be famous. You're Insta famous. You can be famous for getting divorced. You could be famous for getting arrested. You could be famous because, you shot the video of yourself crying and it went viral because, you had this problem or that problem and you don't get it or whatever it is. You see those things. You can be famous for eating a sandwich. It went viral. He mukbanged it, which I just found out what the hell that is for my kid and my wife because I'm old, but that went famous. You can get famous for spitting on and well, I'll just say the Hak Tui girl, right? She got famous. I was like, are you kidding me? She had a crypto coin. She got scammed once again. She was scammed. I don't know if anyone ever heard about that recently. They tricked her into I don't even know the whole story, so don't quote me on it. Something happened with some sort of altcoin or some sort of digital coin asset that they created. She got scammed, lost a bunch of money, ruined her reputation. Not a great reputation in the first place anyways. Why'd you become famous for Hak Tuiing it? I mean, sure, funny in the moment, sure, why not? But really? But you get famous for all kinds of things, showing off your private jets and your Lamborghinis. Who knows? Are they rentals? Do you really own them? I don't know. Showing off your tits and ass. That's a big one. A lot of people famous for that. Getting canceled, selling a course on how to get rich quick. And I'm not against selling courses. I have a course, 30-day sober performance challenge. I feel like it has purpose. I feel like it's something that I put a lot of heart and sweat and blood into and, thought and effort, and it helps a lot of people. So I don't have an issue with that type of stuff, but social media, I think when it comes down to it, if you bring it back, it's QVC with trauma. And I've said that before. It's almost like the shopping channel now. Like, it used to be fun. Social media in the beginning was cool. It was fun. Remember MySpace? I heard MySpace is coming back, actually, by the way. I don't know if anyone else heard about that. I guess they still have a few million followers or subscribers or members. I don't know how they put that on MySpace, but they're bringing it back. They announced recently. And what they're doing is they're bringing it back to the social platform that once was loved before all these social platforms became about negativity and politics and get rich quick schemes and marketing. I mean, do you remember that? Social media it used to be fun. Hey, check out this picture of my kid at the lake. We're all hanging out. Check out, we got a new puppy, a new dog. Look what my wife made for dinner. Happy birthday, mom. Like, hey, a little post here. Happy birthday. I love you. And yes, you still see some of that stuff. So I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying is it changed from the majority of it being that, where now that type of stuff is the minority. And the majority is, DM me, comment freedom. I'm giving away my secrets, or comment fart. And I'll send you my free 17-page PDF on how to make $37,000 a month from the company of your own home on your phone. Like, it's so exhausting. And it's most of it is shit. I'm sure there's someone out there who has made $37,000 on their phone. I don't deny that. And I don't know that either. Who knows? I don't know. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. But the modern social media feed is just filled with garbage, politics, murder. Someone died. Someone got canceled. Someone's selling testosterone. Someone's selling boner pills. Someone's driving a Lamborghini or posing by their Lamborghini. They want you to join their trading group. DM me the word, DM me and I'll send you this. I'm not hating on it either. I get it. People want to run businesses. They use social media for your business. I do some of that as well. But my point is that it's gotten so out of hand and so overwhelming that it is just not fun anymore. It's not social. There's nothing social really about it anymore. It's more look at me, look what I'm doing, look where I'm at, look what I have. I'm a part of this. It's not social media anymore. It's infomercials with comments. Everybody's running an infomercial. And this isn't just my imagination or my opinion. Okay? Consumers reported $2.1 billion in losses from scams that started on social media in 2025. That's roughly 8 times the reported loss in 2020. So within a course of 5 years, and this is generally when I'm talking about what I'm talking about today, and with the regard to social media, I'm referring to about the last 5 to 6 years. And so I think these numbers here can really add some validation to these points today. I'm going to read it one more time. 2.1 billion losses from scams that started on social media in 2025. Okay. And that's 8 times the reported loss in 2020. 8 times. That's nearly 30% of people who reported losing money to a scam said it started on social media. Investment scams alone accounted for about 1.1 billion in reported losses. That's according to the FTC. So when your grandmother says, grandma, don't talk to strangers on the internet, or your mom or your wife or whoever, she's right. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. And I think the majority of people, it's not something I got to tell you. You probably tell your kids that, or you understand that. But the fact that social media has turned in to what it's turned into today is not fun. I debate deleting mine every day. I really do. If it wasn't for Sober Guy, I don't think I would have social media. I don't. And I have Instagram, and that's pretty much the only one I'm active on sometimes. And I've debated lately even going back to the flip phone. I don't know if you remember a few years back, I did an experiment where I went almost 90 days, I think, with the flip phone. I still have it. I still love it. I still want to use it. And I think I might. I don't know when. Maybe this winter. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. But it was a great experiment, and it really did helped reconnect me with self and with purpose and with being in the moment, because I wasn't constantly checking. Do you know how many group texts I'm in? And I don't try to say that like to sound cool or anything. And I all the group texts are great people. It's not any of them that, some are friends, some are family, some are neighbors. I like all the people in them, but it's so distracting to have your phone going off every 5 minutes. And that's my personal phone. Then I have a work phone, which is constantly going on. So it's like when you have the ability to text back so easily too, or send, links or memes or, responses, you can't do that on a flip phone. I mean, you can respond to a text, but it's literally probably going to be a yes or no. I'm not going to sit there and write out texts for you. You're going to have to call me or I'm going to have to see you in person. That's it. And I see that. I see a huge want and need in people to go back to that, to go back to the simplicity even of like a house phone and an answering machine. Hey, this is Shane. You reached the Ramers. We're not home right now, but leave us a message and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks and have a blessed day. Beep. Hey, Mr. Raymer, this is Carl calling from Sears. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like those were the days. And now I'm the old guy who's sitting up there talking about back in my day. That's not necessarily what I mean, because I know people can feel me on this. The AI, the social media, the doom scrolling, the addictive tendencies, the group texts, the constant checking of, it's overwhelming and exhausting, and people are literally getting tired of it. They really are. So we're consuming so much information. We have access to so much stuff that we're literally becoming exhausted by it. We're becoming exhausted. And there was a study done that said about half of US adults say they're worn out by the amount of news these days, mostly because it's bad news, right? While 6 out of 10 people said they've reduced their overall news intake. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely one of those 6 out of 10 people. 5 years ago during COVID, I listened to a lot of different, what some might call even back then, alternative news sources and, different folks. And I've come to realize that it's all pretty much bullshit. It's a big club and we're not in it, as George Carlin said. And my focus is taking care of my family and providing for them and having the best experience in this short life that I can. I don't really give a fuck about all the other stuff because I'm not going to change it. Doesn't mean I'm going to lay down if some shit ever came to my doorstep or my community or whatever, but the chances of that really happening are slim. Not to say they're like we did the preparedness kind of podcast a couple of weeks ago because of the In-N-Out shooting that happened recently. So, my point to that, and I still stand, tall on that, is be prepared. Prepare your family, a natural disaster, whatever the case is. We should always have some preparedness going on. But the fact that we sit around and worry and watch Fox News or CNN News or any of these bullshit stations, and in addition to the alternative media sources, it all comes back to money at the end of the day. I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know, but people are tired of it and people are waking up to it and people aren't watching it anymore. They're not wasting their time and wasting their energy. And this is coming from somebody myself who was really wrapped up in this, especially during COVID, because I was angry and I was pissed off about what was going on because I saw through all of it. And that doesn't make me some great person, but I didn't buy it from day one. I knew what it was and it really got to me, and I got wrapped up, really deep into I don't even know what you call it. I'll just call it the matrix of it because that's what it felt like. And when I look back, that's what it seems like. And at the end of the day, what is important? My peace is important. My family is important. My spiritual connection's important. My friends are important. The work that I do is important. I think it is. I enjoy doing it, but we're exhausted by the information. And so I want to propose this question before we wrap up today. What happens if you disappear for 30 days? And I don't mean fake your own death, not Machiavelli here, Tupac Shakur. Interesting. story that's come up a lot lately too with him in the whole trial and Suge Knight and all that stuff. Different story. I don't know. Maybe I'll hit on that sometime. But what happens if you disappear for 30 days? And what I mean is no Instagram, no TikTok, no Facebook, no X, no doom scrolling, no checking your phone, no group chats, no celebrity gossip, no political arguments. What happens? Could you imagine taking a 30-day hiatus from all of that shit? What would it do for you? What if you just listened to some good music? You went on a run, you went on a walk with your family, with your wife, with your kids, on the solo, with your neighbors. You played a little golf. You rode your bike a couple times a week. You went out on a trail and got in some nature, walked down by the river or the lake or the ocean, wherever you live. What happens if you do that? You might meet somebody, a friend. If you're looking penub, maybe you've been looking penub in all the wrong paces. Maybe you meet somebody. Maybe you do decide, you know what, I'm going to get a gym membership and get my ass back in shape. I shed a few pounds, start making these joints feel good again, being able to bend down and tie my shoes without it hurting. You know, I got to a point earlier this year. Well, I guess it would have been right after the holidays. And I do tend to put on a little weight over the holidays. I think that's pretty common because, you know, people eat and you eat more than you want to. And I like to eat. What could I say? And so I think I got up to almost 225 in like February. And it was starting to hurt to bend over to tie my shoes. And I went, what is going on here? And it wasn't like, I wasn't in like terrible shape. I was still like somewhat active, but I definitely wasn't taking care of myself like I should have been, you know, like I should be. And so I just weighed in today about 208, which is, I'm trying to get down to about 200. And I just want to feel good. I just want to feel like flexible. I want to be able to run, jog if I have to. I want to play football with my son. I want to play soccer with my daughter. You know, I want to go on a walk with my wife and not have shit hurt, you know, and that's the goal. That's the goal. And when we get rid of all the distractions, the doom scrolling, the political arguments, the stuff that I mentioned earlier, you start to transition into things that are more beneficial in your life, and you start to put more time and effort into those. You actually read a book. You actually take your wife out. You actually play with your kids. You actually, you know, you have a business plan that's been sitting in the back of your notes forever and you've never taken action on it. It's time to take action on it. Let's take a look at this now. I'm not distracted anymore. I can put this time into this. You know, I'm outside more. I'm riding a bike. I'm taking a walk. I'm playing some golf. I'm playing, you know, whatever. You might discover your neighbor has a name. He's been living there next to you for 14 years. You still never met him. Luckily for us, we got an awesome neighborhood here. Just great neighbors, great families. Super pumped on that. It's very important too. Not everyone's always that lucky. I get it. Sometimes you get stuck with some neighbors you don't really care for maybe, but you got to make the best of it somehow. And a lot of that stuff comes internally where we perceive, like, your perspective creates your reality. Your perspective creates your reality. Perspective is everything. So how do we choose? Because God gave us a brain to use and he gives us that free will to choose. How do I choose to look at this? And I'll share this with you right now. I didn't have this on the notes, but I think this is a great time to share it. Perspective. You know, my daughter, I'll keep this short and sweet. My daughter tried out for soccer again. She had some issues, had to change schools. Nothing bad, it just kind of worked out in a weird way. So she changes schools. She tries out for soccer. Before she tries out, she decided not to go to the summer camp sessions, which I told her to go to. You know, her mom and I both suggested that, yeah, you should probably go to these, you know. And she decided not to. And she didn't make the soccer team. And it was a really hard pill to swallow, you know, to put it mildly. But you didn't put the work in. You know, you didn't do what needed to be done. And so I think I'm going to cut this part out of the podcast, or I'm just going to, maybe I won't cut it. I'll just leave it at that, because I don't even know where I was going with that, other than we have to be able to look at the positive. And so the positive for this was, hopefully you learned a lesson, and you got to put the work in, all the work, if you want something. And then 2, she's only a junior. Like I told her, you can still play this next year, your senior year. Hopefully you learned a lesson in this. Get back on the horse next year if you really want to play, and get after it. And so back to my point, perspective creates reality. We can choose to have the perspective of, oh my God, I didn't make the team and I'm devastated. And I'm not saying it's not okay to be sad and to be hurt and to be pissed off a little bit, but we got to get back up, pick our face up, and move on. And we got to look in the positive direction. That's the only way. That's the only way to move forward. Otherwise, you're going to be defeated forever. And that perspective that you have, if it's negative, it's going to create a negative experience for you. If it's positive, it's going to generally create a pretty positive experience for you. So let's wrap this up. I want to get back to the phone real quick. It's not just the phone. It's not just the alcohol. It's not just the social media. It's the escape. It's the stimulation. We don't know how to be bored anymore. I mean, just take your kids on a road trip and watch them lose their fucking minds if their phones or their iPads die. We used to drive and play Beetlebug and sock each other for out-of-state license plates and, stuff like that. We were bored. I'm bored. Shut up. That's what we got. And was it fun? No. But it taught us how to be. It taught us how to be present. It taught us how to sit in ourselves. And we don't know how to do that anymore. We just don't. So what does that have to do with Brad Pitt drinking again? I don't know. And honestly, I don't care. Good for him. You know what? If Brad Pitt needs to drink again, if that's what he needs right now, go, Brad, get it. Get some. Go get it. I don't care. Hope he's okay. I don't know him. I don't know what's happening in his life, and I don't need to. That's the point. Maybe we should spend a little less time watching other people's lives on social media and comparing our lives to them and being upset when our lives don't look like all the good things that they're posting, because most people only post the good things. And we should live with a little more intention in our own lives and cut some of that shit out for 30 days and see what that's like. Sobriety, a sober mind, alcohol-free, however you want to refer to it, sober, it's not about being better than anybody. It's about being available for my own life, and you for your own life, for your own family, for my own family. It's being clear enough to think, to work, to train, to be a parent, to love, love your spouse, love your family, to build something, build a business, build, build something, build a cabin, build a home. I don't know, build something, build a relationship. But that takes work and effort and time and investments and all that. Make clear decisions without needing to escape every uncomfortable moment. I still have tendencies to want to do that. Maybe it's a difficult conversation or something I don't feel like dealing with. I just want to escape. Sometimes I do. I go take a walk. But I also know that that's not necessarily always a bad thing, because I've learned how to process feelings and sit on them for a minute instead of making like a knee-jerk reaction, which is what I used to do a lot, and a lot of people do, an emotional reaction. I don't need to do that. I don't need to text you back right away. I don't need to call you back right away. I don't need to argue with you or give you the right answer right away. Let me sit on this for a minute. Let me see what God does in this. Let me see how to navigate this position that I'm in, this thought. That type of clarity and the ability to be able to do that is priceless, man, especially in a crazy ass world like this. So I have a quick little challenge for you this week. And you can adjust this or whatever. This is just the foundation for you to start with. I want you to take one day off social media. One day. Just delete it. If you want to do more, do more. Go be a person. Talk to somebody. Walk outside. Pick something heavy up. Have dinner without your phone right there. I'm going to do this shit too. I mean, I already have been doing it and trying to be real conscious of it, but I still am on my phone too much, period. And I can make excuses all day. Oh, my work's on it, because we hear that a lot, and I use it. My work is on it. But I could do a much better job of turning it off when it's time to turn it off. And when I'm working, turning it on, and then having those boundaries very clear. And I get it. It's hard to do. Everything we do is on our phone. I listen to a lot of music or podcasts. That's all on my phone. So there it is. There's another excuse. Point being, see what happens. Be bored. Be bored. Sit there outside and enjoy the sky. Enjoy the cool air, the breeze blowing on you. Don't do anything. Just sit there. Meditate a little bit. That is freedom. That is the human experience. And that's what it's about. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, I would love for you to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if that's where you listen. And then also, I would love for you to share this podcast with a friend. If you could do that for me, that'd be amazing. I appreciate you tuning in today. Take care. God bless. Check us out at thatsoberguy.com.